Hello, good afternoon. Greetings in the name of Jesus Christ. I am C.L. Edwards, and I am appearing here on the Trinity channel today, and we have an exciting show for you today with excellent guests and a great topic. Have you ever heard of something called the miracle of the Qur'an, the miracles of the Qur'an? Have you ever been on YouTube or any other of these video channels and seen a video presentation or a debate regarding how they are undeniable scientific miracles in the Quran that are so mind-blowing, that are so true, that after you read about them, after you watch one of these debates, you have to take the Shahada. You have to take the Shahada. You have to leave Christianity. You have to leave whatever it is, ideology you believe in, and become a Muslim. And become a Muslim from that day on. We're not here to give you dawah. We're not here to give you the Shahada. We're actually here to show you with proof and evidence, undeniable, that you can investigate, that you can think over for yourself, that you can critically think for yourself, because that's the main thing. I'm not here, I don't want to make you do anything. I don't want to make you become a Christian. I don't want to make you leave Islam. I don't want to make you disbelieve or believe in the Quran or whatever. But what we want is, we want you to critically think for yourself. And we're going to present evidences and arguments for critical thinking on the topic of whether there actually are scientific miracles or not in the Quran, and whether the claims about science about the Quran can be trustworthy. Can you put your trust in these claims? Are these trustworthy? Can you trust that this is from God and that this will get you into heaven, and this will not get, this is going to keep you from hell? Because that's a serious thing. That's a serious topic to have to put your trust into. So you have to make sure that you're putting your trust in the truth. Now, let me introduce two of my guests that I have with us tonight. One of our guests is the brother Christian Prince. Christian Prince. I know this brother does not remember who I am, but when I was Muslim, I actually argued against him, and I tried to give him dawah online. I know he doesn't believe. I know he doesn't remember me. This is many years ago, but I tried to give him dawah once, and I tried to get him to come to Islam. Our brother is a speaker. He is a apologist extraordinaire, and he's an author. He has authored 2 books. One of the books he's authored is The Deception of Allah, Volume 1, which is a paperback you can find on Amazon and other places. Also, he has another book, The Qur'an and Science in Death, a complete study of the deception of Deception of Allah, Volume 1 paperback. This can be found on Amazon as well. So this brother knows an awful lot about this topic. He's not ignorant. He has done critical thinking and critical investigation into this topic, and he's going to help us to do critical thinking and investigation for ourselves. Also, on the show tonight, we have another apologist extraordinaire, and that is our brother, Jonathan McLatchie from the UK. Our brother, he's a speaker. He's a debater. He has recently had some recent debates where he showed just as how intelligent and well-spoken this brother really is. I'm so glad that he's here, and I'm glad he's here to help me and help us on this topic. Are my brothers there? Can you guys hear me? Hello.
We can.
Brother Jonathan, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Is brother Christian Prince there?
Yes, I'm here. God bless you, brother, and God bless brother Jonathan. Nice to be with
God
you.
bless you. God bless you. God bless you. Now, I'm going to put forth an idea for you, and I want both of you to take turns to answer this. Why is this topic of any type of importance? What's so important about claims about science in the Quran? And why is this so popular on the internet? Why do everywhere we go on the internet, we're seeing videos and websites and different propaganda about the miracles, scientific miracles in the Quran? Why is this so popular, and what exactly is it? What are we talking about here? Brother Jonathan, you want to start off?
Miracles in the Quran is the idea that you can look at the Quran and see these miraculous scientific insights, which couldn't possibly have been known by a 7th century Arab, someone who was purportedly illiterate, no less. And the Quran purportedly has these great scientific insights, and it's a very popular argument. If you go to Islamic dawah stalls, or go to conferences, or you read their tracts and books and their literature, you see this argument very, very frequently, and it's a very popular argument. I think it's one of the very few polemics or apologetics that Islam really has to offer. In our modern era, where we're confronted by modern skepticism, there's this tremendous pressure on people to produce evidence for why they believe what they believe. And so the argument from scientific miracles in the Quran really is an attempt on the part of the Muslim community to really clutch at something which they can use to demonstrate the truth, the veracity of Islam, and to demonstrate that the Quran is in fact the revealed word of Allah. So that's the reason I think why it's so popular. Unfortunately, when one reads the Quran, it just simply doesn't stand up.
Now, Brother Christian Prince, I offer the same question to you, because you have done a lot of ministry and a lot of work on the internet. So I know that you are very familiar that this is a very popular topic on the internet now, and you've written a book on the subject. Can you tell us what is this all about, and why is it why do you think it's so popular? Why is it being used so much in dawah?
Why those things appear now, not before? Like, why we did not see, let us say, 100 years ago, Muslims speaking about science in the Quran, or 50 years ago, or even, this is something new. The purpose is, Islam does not have miracles. Muhammad, he did not do any miracles. And Muslims, they are desperate to find a proof that this is a book from God. And today, supposedly, because people, let's say, huge number of mankind, they believe in science. They don't believe in, let's say, just someone said, I said, you said. They believe in science. So the Muslims, they wanted to adopt the science in order to make people believe in Islam and to confirm that Islam is from God. However, I wish it was a movement with honesty. Otherwise, then we would not have a problem, because the Quran really has nothing to do with science. And actually, me, myself, I refuse to mix between science and the teaching of God, because, science is science and God is God. Like, as an example, when somebody says, I believe that Mary, she gave birth and she was virgin, that is not science. That is belief. But Muslims, they want to use the science in order to deceive. And this is why I wrote my book, actually, because many naive Christians, let's say, or naive, even atheists, because I say the word naive, I'm not insulting, but it's a fact, because simply you do not have the knowledge, and secondly, you don't have the ability to read the Arabic text. What the Muslims do, in order to make science, simply to change the meaning of the words, they manipulate the words and the meaning, and then try to make it fit with science. And you, as an English-speaking person who do not know, you go with it because you are assuming that if somebody, he grow a beard, and he speaks the truth. Like we trust those people who they are religious, supposedly, because supposedly they are people of God, and they are people who love God, and they will be decent. But this is not the case in Islam. In Islam, you are allowed to lie. It's not a shame to lie, and it's not against the teaching of Islam to lie. Actually, the more you lie, the more Allah loves you. Even Muhammad himself, he said a Muslim is allowed to lie in 3 cases: to his families, to his friends, and to his enemies. So who's left? Lying is not a problem for Muslims, and as long the purpose for them is supposedly good, which is to convert you to Islam, So lying is a lust. Like if you go to chapter 2, verse 2225 in the Quran, it says Allah even will not take you accountable for your false oath. So even false oath, a Muslim can swear by Allah in front of you. Allah will not punish him for that false oath because he judged him by his heart, not by his tongue, which means he can say something to you, taking an oath by Allah's name, and to convince you in something, but Allah still will not judge him by that oath, but he will judge him what he meant in his heart. So a Muslim, he meant in his heart is what? He meant that he want to convert you to Islam. So Allah will not judge him by the lie he did. He will judge him by the reason. The reason he want to convert you, that's a good reason supposedly. So your lie is valid, it's fine. So we want people to see that there is a lot of deception here, and this is not a truth about science. And you know what? We are in the show here. I offer a friendly challenge for all Muslim scholars, including let us mention some names like Shabir Ali, Noor Khan, Zakir Naik, etc. Mm-hmm. All those who take the stage to debate me in this topic specifically. And you will notice that those names, they never debate someone who speaks Arabic. They debate only, with my respect to my brothers and sisters, American or England or it doesn't matter, but they know that if you speak Arabic, you have a power they don't have, which is deception. Which means you will not let them go with the deception they play always. So they debate only those who speak English and English only, or French and French only. But you speak Arabic, that is not good. So they avoid Arabic-speaking people. And this is why I'm offering here a challenge, live on air, for all those names I mentioned, Shabir Ali, Zakir Naik, Abdul Rahman Green, all those names, or Yusuf State, all those names, if they dare to accept the challenge in any topic of their choice, including the Quran and science, all right? And it's going to be an open topic, and let us see if they accept really to debate an Arabic-speaking person, or only they want to debate someone who speaks English.
Oh, well, you heard it here, folks. An open challenge from Christian Prince to any Arabic-speaking apologists out there who would like to debate him on the subject of the miracles, the supposed miracles of the Quran. An open Arabic invitation. I would love to see that debate, a debate like that. You and Shabir Ali, I want to see that debate.
Oh, yeah. Actually, ABN, they contact Shabir Ali, Dr. Basim, you remember, a few years ago, and he accepted to debate me. And then I think what he did, he searched about me and he backed up, and the excuse was that he is busy with his PhD. Since then, he actually always debate people, even before he has his PhD is done, but I think it was an excuse because he know that he is no match. So this is why he backed down, and he sent an email to ABN, says, I apologize, I'm busy with my PhD. So those people actually, my offer, not only for those who speak Arabic, by the way, anyone who claims to be a scholar, I want to show everybody that none of them is a scholar. As an example, you ask a Muslim without mentioning a name, because I don't want to make it like I'm attacking a person. Mm-hmm. You ask a Muslim any question, you have to repeat the question 50 times, and still he will not answer you. And Shabir Ali is one of them. He go in circles, he never answer a question, and he claimed that he gave you the answer when the fact he never answered anything. So this is a game they play with those who do not know really the skills. Let's say you have to have the skills of debate. Those people, they have the skills of deception. So we as a Christian, we don't deceive, and we are not allowed to lie. Even the Lord, he ordered us either to say yes, yes, or no, no. Now, if you ask yourself, why Jesus said yes, yes, or no, no? What the purpose? Because if you are always decent, and you should be always decent, so why you want to take an oath? But a Muslim, he have to take an oath in order to prove that he is supposedly honest, because simply he always can lie, as Muhammad, he gave him the right to lie in 3 cases. And yet the Quran says, as we showed you in chapter 2, verse 2 to 5, that Allah will not take you accountable for your false oath, because still at the end of the day, he judges you by the heart. Which means even the oath is a false oath. It's okay, and Islam cannot be, a Muslim, he cannot be trusted. In chapter 3, verse 28, it says, if you go to the interpretation of Ibn Abbas, it says that a Muslim, he is not allowed to take a Christian or a Jew as a friend, but unless it is for the sake of protection. So he speaks to them friendly in a nice way, but his heart dislikes this. This is allowed. So a Muslim is taught since he's a child. He can lie to you. He can say to you, we are friends, as long as he don't mean it, as long as his heart dislikes this. And this goes for everything. So a Muslim really, I don't want people to think that I am speaking in a negative way about Muslims. I'm speaking about Islam. Muslims are people who follow Islam, not the opposite, which means Muslims
ideology
lie.
The people who follow the ideology.
Yes. This is what they practice. This is their religion. This is their belief. So I'm not putting Muslims down. I'm talking about Islam. I believe they are victims of this religion.
Amen. So let me ask both of you brothers again, before we go further into maybe some specific arguments that are used in dawah to try to prove that there are these scientific miracles in the Quran and breaking them down. What exactly is science? I'm a carpenter. I'm a truck driver. I'm just an office worker at the house. I don't really know anything about any of this stuff. I don't know the meaning of any of these words. If some guy with a beard and a kufi comes up to me telling me that there's scientific miracles, how am I? I don't. Maybe there are. Who am I to say that there's no scientific miracles? What exactly is science then, and what exactly is the deception? Where is the deception taking place when we have people giving dawah or we have people online doing Islamic apologetics? Can we start off with our brother Jonathan? Would you like to answer that question?
Sure. Well, science basically derives from the Latin scientia, which means knowledge, is the quest for knowledge. Science is predicated upon the scientific method, which is to say that we form hypotheses and as we observe the world, and we test these hypotheses, and we form conclusions, and scientific hypotheses become a scientific theory is basically a network of scientific hypotheses which are organized in a conceptually systematic way. And so you can have a network of hypotheses, which in turn becomes a theory, and different hypotheses can be falsified, and so that's the idea of the scientific method. So there's different areas within science. I'm a biologist, for example, and there's also physics, and each discipline of science has subdisciplines within it. For example, cosmology would be a subdiscipline of physics, and so forth. So that's what we mean by science. One question that I like to ask my Muslim friends when we're talking about the argument from supposed scientific miracles in the Quran is, how would you falsify this argument, right? It seems to me, as I read the Quran, that there are plenty of scientific blunders, very obvious scientific blunders in the Quran, which militates very strongly against the hypothesis that this comes from some divine source. So how would you falsify this argument? I mean, if we're talking about supposed scientific insights, well, what happens when you have a scientific blunder? And how would you demonstrate that you have a scientific blunder in the Quran? Is it possible to demonstrate that you have a scientific blunder in the Quran? What evidence cannot falsify? Evidence cannot demonstrate. I mean, if there's no way to show that a particular argument is false, then that argument can't be used to demonstrate what you're trying to demonstrate. So that's, I think, a real problem with the whole way in which this argument is framed.
Okay. Thank you for that answer, brother. Brother Christian Prince, I think you heard the question. I can repeat it if you need me to. What is real science? What's the difference between science and what these Islamic apologists and people who are giving dawah are talking about? What is science? Can you give us your view on that?
Yeah, simply, when we say science, we are talking about what is discovered to be a fact, as scientists they claim. However, for me, myself, I don't really go blindly by science, because what is science today, it might be a stupid thing tomorrow. As an example, scientists in the 17th century, who they used to be scientists, today most of what they said or they taught is something funny and it's not smart. But at that time they were called scientists. So science is a movement of a human being looking for answers, and I don't really follow it blindly because, as I said, it can be today, they call it a fact, but tomorrow it can be not. Like there's many theories scientists they adopt, and by time they found it's not really a fact, they were wrong, or at least they were wrong about part of it. So science is something changeable, it's not really fixed, but let us say there's major things is already proven and everybody agree upon, and that I can call the science. However, Muslims, they have their own way of science, which means they have two colors for their science, which means there's things they will never mention. There's things they will never talk about the Quran. There are things they will never, they don't even want you to talk about. That is still, for them, is not what they want to show you, because they want to speak about something else they can play with. So Muslim science is simply making you believe in something exists when it does not exist, and taking advantage, as I said, of you, because you are not an Arabic speaking person who have no full access for the real translation or the real meaning, and then they can fool you easy because you do not know. You are reading just a translation of Muslims, and Muslims, they always make it look. Actually, there is a famous guy, I spoke about him in my book. His name is Harun Yahya. He is the first actually who started this movement. You will see this guy, the same verse, he translates 3-4 times in different way. It depends. Like, when he speaks about the 7 heavens, sometimes the 7 heavens is about galaxy, and in different claim, the 7 heavens is about the atmosphere. And there's a huge difference, right? It cannot be the galaxy and the atmosphere at the same time. So when he wants, he make it about the 7 layers in the atmosphere, and he make it as a 7 layers, which is false. And when he wants, he make it about galaxies, and he make it. So they play with the translation in order to deceive you. And if you are not really a person who can connect the dots together, they can fool you. Because if you look at the videos they are making, it's really powerful. They spend a lot of money, graphic. They bring you doctors, scientists. They have interview, and it's very convincing because simply everything is made to look perfect for you. But in fact, it's very funny. As an example, if we go in the Quran in chapter of Az-Zariyat says that Allah, He made it from everything 2 things. He created from everything 2 things, and this is not true, because if the verse here is speaking about gender, it's only from 2 things. Well, this is because remember, they are making the Quran a book of science, not something metaphorical. It's not me who did that; it's them. So now it's their fault. They have to handle it. As long as it's not a metaphorical no more, it's Allah, He says He created from everything 2 things. Now there's many animals. They are male and female at the same time. They are not male and female. There's many creatures. They don't even have gender. Like the paramecium, it's one cell, a creation of God, which produced by separating itself. It cut itself 2 pieces and became 2 creatures. So this is not true when the Quran says from everything Allah, He made 2 things. But Muslims, they will not talk about those things. They will talk about things they can play with.
So there's just a lot of deception going on, and this whole entire argument is an innovation, really. This is an innovation. This is not an orthodox Islamic concept, even. Now, before we get into that, into other topics, we're going to take a break real quick. So, you guys out there, don't go anywhere, and I encourage everyone to call in. Call in. You see the numbers below? Down here we have numbers in America, the UK, France, Australia. I encourage you to call in with your questions, your concerns, your comments, whatever you want to say about this topic. Call in, and we want to hear what you have to say. And we're going to take a break real quick, and we will be back in God's name, God willing.
ABN and Trinity Channel launching to Europe and the Middle East on Hot Bird Satellite. You can watch us on the frequency 12111 vertical. For more information, please call us at 248-416-1300. In France, please dial 977-199-168. In the United Kingdom, please dial 122-829-2332 or visit us at trinitychannel.com or abnsat.com for more details.
Welcome back. We are back. Again, I encourage everyone out there, you see the numbers below. Call in with your questions. Call in with your concerns. Call in with your comments. We want to hear from you. And our brother guests, they want to hear from you also. Christian Prince, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I
We
do.
were just speaking on this topic, and I was saying to you how I'm getting the impression from you that this whole entire argument, this whole entire thing is a complete innovation. And if it's a complete innovation, are not these people who are promoting it, aren't they innovators? Is this topic being discussed in the lands of Islam? Arabic-speaking scholars teaching their students this topic of Islamic science? Could you give me a little bit on that? And could you tell us about your book, The Qur'an and Science in Depth, also, that you wrote?
Yeah. First of all, when somebody is in love with something, he will not notice the problem, because you are too close. So Muslims, because they are in love with their religion, and they are willing even to accept the lies, they know that there's a lot of exaggerating, they know there's a lot of manipulating for the meaning, and nobody talk about it because simply, as long as it's for the benefit of Islam, they go with it. And if you watch a TV program in Arabic in the Middle East, you will see how they change everything. There is no honesty whatsoever. As an example, there's an author. He wrote a book about the top 100 great men or greatest men who have influence in the earth. They translate the book to Arabic. They change the meaning. They change the title. They change the words, and they change everything in the book. And they make it as if the book is speaking about Muhammad as the most honest person in the world, and Islam is the only true religion. When the whole book has nothing to do with this, So let me give you an example about the Islamic countries' education. When I was in school, the history teacher was teaching us about Arabic scientist, and he mentioned a name of an Arabic or Arab scientist. His name is Al-Khawarizmi. And then, me myself, as a person who grew up in the Middle East, I didn't know what this Khawarizmi means. What Khawarizmi? This is not an Arabic word. At that time, I was really very young, a kid, So I said, sir, what Al-Khawarizmi mean? He said, Al-Khawarizmi, he called this way because he's born in Khawarizm. I said, where's Khawarizm? He said, this is, at that time, it was part of Khorasan and Iran, etc. So I said, so he's born in Iran, but he is in the Arabic section of the Arabic scientist? Just because he is good for them, they try to make him an Arab. He is not an Iranian no more. So here you see there's dishonesty in education. And the guy is born in different country, in a country don't speak our languages, a country has nothing to do with the Arab, and they want to make him an Arab because simply he's good. 100 years from now, we will see a Muslim writing in their history books that the founder of Apple company, Joe, he was a Muslim, and he was an Arab. The fact, this guy, he don't belong to Islam, have nothing to do with it. And yes, his father was from Syria, but he never even cared to mention that he is from there. So they always, try to win reputation. And reputation, it doesn't matter if they win it by honesty or dishonesty. This is not a question now. The question is how I can win you inside Islam, even by
any means necessary. I see. Any?
Yes.
We do have a caller. We do have a caller. If I can interrupt you real quickly, because we don't have a whole lot of time, I do want to get to our caller. We have a caller, George. Can we bring George up on the line?
Yes,
George.
God bless you.
George, you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Hello, how you doing?
Could you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, so
Greetings.
God bless you.
God bless you.
And Christian, سلام المسيح معك يا Christian. You're doing good job.
Thank you very much. Do you have a question, a comment, or?
Yeah, it's a thought actually,
Okay.
and let me share it with you. And I don't know, I'm not this kind of. I cannot find the word in English. Discourage Christian about my thoughts, but if there's thought in you, Christian, and maybe you can share some enlightenment about that to the audience. How the science, even they have a truth in the Qur'an, will help them in the Azab al-Qabr, and how they will help them in everybody gonna go to hell in the beginning, and how they're gonna help them if Muhammad himself not ensuring his salvation, and he knows his father and mother will be in hell. Keep going, guys, and I hope you have time to share some enlightenment for people to know, to the Muslim American. They believe there is Azab Qabr in there when they die. So I hope they can search for that as well.
Yes. Yes, we do know that the ideology of Islam, the religious ideology of Islam, is a religion that does not guarantee any type of eternal life or salvation for its adherents. And you make a good point that the miracles, the supposed miracles, believing in the supposed miracles of the Quran still does not give you eternal life, and it still doesn't offer you any type of guarantee that your sins will be forgiven, that you have a passage into Jannah, into heaven, and not into hell. This whole idea about this Islamic science, this lying and exaggerating in order to prove that the Quran has miracles in it, does not accomplish much. Now, Christian Prince, before we get into I want to get into some specific Islamic claims about miracles in the Quran. But before that, I wanted to give you a chance to tell us about your book, The Quran and Science and Death and the Deception of Islam. Could you tell us about those two books real quickly?
The second book, which is as we're talking about science, Quran and Science and Death, is to refute all and debunk all the claim the Muslims they have about science. And whoever read my book will see I don't even speak from my own. I'm just showing the true words as it is, even the interpretation of Muslims, which is proving that everything is a fabrication. So simply it's a book to refute. During the refute, by the way, like I present many stories, which is nothing but the fairy tale stories in the Quran, which is very funny, and Muslims do not, like, how come the Muslim, they don't talk about the flying carpet of Solomon? Or Solomon, he died and he stayed in his stick for almost a year, you know? What is the science in this? And then he fell down because the worms ate his stick, his staff, he was standing on it. How come the Muslims don't speak about Solomon? He have a minister, and he is a bird, and his part-time is to look for women for Sulaiman. How come Muslims don't talk about the genie? He took the rank of Solomon, and he was able to be the king because he cloned himself, looked like Solomon. When Solomon he went to the bathroom, he left his ring with his wife, and then the genie, which is Satan, He came to his wife in the look of Solomon. He asked her for the ring back, and by having the ring, he became a king. And then Solomon became homeless. So, those stories are not even fit for cartoon, because even if you read them, they are not even, like a child, he will not be convinced with them. So why Muslims don't make movies about those things? How come they try to ignore those things? And they only put their, because either this book is a book of science, and this book always speak about science, or this book is not. So how come they don't want to mention those at all? We don't see any one of them, speak about it. And if they speak about something, they cut the rest of the verse. Like as an example, when it's come to the flying carpet of Solomon, Harun Yahya, he mentioned that Allah is giving control to Solomon for the wind. And then he said, maybe this verse is speaking about predicting that in the time we will have, airplanes. And you will notice how many times he used the word maybe. Since when the science is based on maybe? But if we go to the story, we will see that the story has nothing to do with airplane. It was a flying carpet where the wind carried the carpet. And this carpet, do you know, by the way, how many chairs this carpet can take? How many people? This carpet, have you any information about it?
No, how many people can this going to take?
600,000 chairs for a human being.
Oh.
In the top of it, not only this, all his kingdomship of arms, weapons, and soldiers, and his animals, and his goats, and his chickens, all of those, they would be flying in the top of the flying carpet. So Muslims, they will never
unique.
Speak about this. So
that's, wow.
Why?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very unique.
Very unique flying carpet. Even Alibaba's story is not even closed. Even Aladdin's story is not even closed. Even the movie, it's called The Ring, the King of the Ring is not even closed, because I was watching this movie, which is nothing but a fairy tale, but it's very close to the movie of Solomon. Here we go, and this guy, he lost his Solomon, he lost his ring, and then he is not a king no more.
Oh my God.
So since when the power of God, it is in the ring? You know what I mean?
That's that doesn't sound like science to me. But we have a caller, so let's get. I want to get to our next caller because we don't have a whole lot of time. We have a caller, Serge from Ireland. Brother Serge, are you there?
Yes, I am there, brother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Good afternoon. Welcome. Do you have a question or a comment that you would like to raise with us?
No, I do not have a question, but I may be having a comment, and I would like to thank you guys first for inviting brother CP on air and thinking of us in Europe, because this is a bit good time for us. It's not very late where we have to wait until 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. on our time to watch your show. And I can only say kudos to everything you guys are doing, and may God bless you. Talking about the Christian Prince books, I will recommend that. I'm not here to advertise. I will recommend that book to everybody. Those two books, I will recommend them to anyone who wants to.
You've read the book?
I did. I have the two books in my Kindle.
Oh, so you put we get the stamp of approval from Brother Serge in Ireland that these are good books, right? So they're worth the effort and the money to get these books, right?
And they are not even very expensive, actually. The information into it doesn't worth the money that we pay. I pay for it.
Amen. Thank you very much, brother, for calling in and with that endorsement from somebody who actually has read the book. Thank you very much for calling in. And we encourage more, if you feel like calling in, we have numbers for the U.S., numbers for France, numbers for various different places. Please call in with your questions, your statements, your concerns, whatever they are. We want to hear from you. Now I want to actually get into some actual claims by Islamists about the miracles of the Quran. And I want to bring up because this one is so popular. This one is, I've been hearing about this so much lately on the internet. There's been a lot of back and forth between Christian and Muslim apologists around the topic of dual Qarnayn and the setting of the sun. And Surah 18, what is it, Ayat 82 through 86, 87. We are told about the story of dual Qarnayn. I shall recite unto you in remembrance of him. Lo, we made him strong in the land and gave him unto every kind of road, and he followed a road till when he reached the setting of the sun, and he found it setting in a muddy spring, and found a people thereabout who said, dual Qarnayn, either punish or show them kindness, and so on and so on and so on. And there are a lot of claims about who exactly dual Qarnayn is, but this verse, is this scientific? Is this scientific knowledge? What is the controversy behind this verse? I would like to first address this to our brother Jonathan McLatchie. I know that you have recently did a YouTube video on this topic with Brother Jay Smith. Could you fill us in on that and fill us in on this claim regarding dual Qarnayn and the setting of the sun that we find in the Qur'an and the controversy behind it?
Right. The video series you're referring to is a video series that were recorded in Poland with myself and Jay Smith, where we talk about various of these supposed scientific miracles in the Qur'an and also some scientific wonders that appear in the Qur'an. One of the issues that we discussed there is this issue of dual Qarnayn in Surah 18, verse 86, as you have read. And there's some disagreement among Quranic commentators as to the identity of Alexander the Great, as to the identity of dual Qarnayn. Some identify him as Alexander the Great, some identify him as someone else. For example, Yasser Qadi, the Muslim scholar, thinks it's not Alexander the Great. So there's some controversy there. There is a general consensus that it's Alexander the Great, but it's immaterial to the argument. You've just read the text in Surah 18, verse 86, where we read about dual Qarnayn traveling so far west, he actually finds the setting place of the sun, finds it setting into a miry spring or a muddy pool, and he found a people nearby. And so there's two hypotheses here. Either this is merely using the language of appearance, so he traveled so far, he found the water and he saw a nice sunset, and so it's just using the language of appearance, or the author of the Quran actually thinks there's a physical location where the sun sets. And so we need to evaluate these two hypotheses. If this is indeed a case of the utilization of language of appearance, then you have to explain why in verses 89 and 90 of this same chapter it says, thereafter he followed a course until when he reached the point of sunrise, he found it rising over a people for whom we did not make any shelter against it. So in other words, these people are so close to where the sun's rising that they're getting scorched by heat, and there's no shelter that's been made to protect them from that heat. So this seems to me to suggest that he actually thinks there's a physical place where the sun sets and a physical place where the sun rises. If you read in Surah 36, or Surah Yasin, as it's called, verses 38 through 40, it's even more clear, even more explicit. We read as follows. And the sun is quickly proceeding towards its destination. That is the designing of the Almighty, the All-Knowing. And for the moon we have appointed measured phases until it turns pale, curved, and fine like an old branch of date palm. Neither it is for the sun to overtake the moon, nor can the night outpace the day. Each one is floating in an orbit. And so it seems to me to be quite clear here that the moon and the sun are rotating in an orbit around the Earth. And that the sun is not orbiting the Earth is orbiting the sun. But perhaps we're still misinterpreting, perhaps we're still misunderstanding. Surely Muhammad, the messenger of the Almighty Allah, knew that the sun doesn't actually move in relation to the Earth, right? Well, If you read Sahih Bukhari, now remember Sahih Bukhari is the most authoritative hadith collection for Sunni Muslims. In Sahih Bukhari, volume 4, book 54, chapter 4, hadith number 421, we read as follows. Narrated Abu Dar, the Prophet asked me at sunset, do you know where the sun goes at the time of sunset? I replied, Allah and His Apostle know better. He said, it goes until it prostrates itself underneath the throne and takes the permission to rise again, and it is permitted, and then a time will come when it will be about to prostrate itself, but its prostration will not be accepted, and it will ask permission to go in its course, but it will not be permitted. But it will be ordered to return whence it has come, and so it will rise in the west. And that is the interpretation of the statement of Allah, and the sun runs its fixed course for a time decree. That is the decree of Allah, be exalted in might, be all-knowing. We also read in Sunan Abu Dawood, Abu Dar said, I was sitting behind the Apostle of Allah, who was riding a donkey while the sun was setting. He asked, do you know where the sun sets? I replied, Allah and His Apostle know best. He says it sets in a spring of warm water. So here it seems to me to be quite clear that he's actually describing a physical location where the sun sets. Now, to be clear, I'm not necessarily saying that these hadith traditions, I'm not necessarily imputing these hadith traditions into the mouth of Muhammad. Perhaps these have weak isnad. I mean, one critic of mine, Yahya Snow, basically argued that these hadith have weak isnad chains, and so they're not authentic hadith. But even if that's the case, I'm not necessarily, my argument doesn't rest upon Muhammad actually having said these actually being authentic hadith narrations. I'm merely using those hadith narrations to demonstrate that this is how the earliest Muslim generations understood those texts. And so it seems to me to be quite a damning case against the science in the Quran argument that Muslims use.
Well, now I've heard many apologists try to. Some have said that particular hadith is it can't be trusted. It can't completely be trusted. I've heard others say that regardless, it's still just a hadith. We put our trust in the Qur'an. I've heard I've heard a Muslim scholar, a very famous Muslim scholar in Saudi Arabia, he said it didn't really matter because this is information of the unseen world that came from Allah, and only Allah knows, and who are we to even question it? So I've heard various different things. Can you explain to us and our audience, especially to our Muslim audience, from a critical thinking standpoint, why is this so important? Why is this a big deal? So what? So what if people in 1,500 years ago believed the sun set into the water? That's what people, that was 1,500 years ago. People were ignorant and backwards back then. We have more scientific knowledge now. So what? That doesn't mean it's not morally true, or there's some spiritual goodness in there for me that can lead me to a better place. Could you explain to us why is that important?
Right, sure. Well, this comes down again to a fundamental difference in the Muslim versus the Christian understanding of inspiration. We as Christians believe that the Bible is theonistos, to use the Greek, that means God breathed. That's what 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 16 and 17 tells us, that the scriptures are God breathed, and they're useful for teaching, correcting, rebuking, training in righteousness, that the man of God may be thoroughly equipped for every good work. Whereas, but we believe nonetheless that the Bible was written down by men, and you can see the personalities of the authors of the various biblical books coming through in the writing. And we don't believe that it's literally the inscribed Word of God. We don't believe that God literally inscribed the Bible, or that it's an eternal word that was sent down from heaven. We believe that it was inspired, and God used men as instruments in order to write His Word, which is the Bible. With the Qur'an, on the other hand, in Islamic theology, they understand the Qur'an as being literally the word of Allah Himself. They believe that the Qur'an is inscribed in tablets in heaven and paradise, and the Qur'an was simply revealed to Muhammad by the angel Jibreel, starting in December of 609, and it was delivered piecemeal through until 632 when he died. So if one was to demonstrate a scientific error and inaccuracy in the Bible, I happen to be a biblical inerrantist, but inerrancy could be demonstrated to be false, and it wouldn't demonstrate that Christianity was false. I would just revise my theology of inspiration. Whereas with the Quran, that option does not exist for the Muslim. If there's just simply one scientific blunder or one historical mistake, then it doesn't just cause you to alter, modify your theology of inspiration. Islam is false. I would also argue that there is a difference between a potential scientific error and a demonstrable scientific error. So I would argue that one could make the case that there are arguable scientific errors in the Bible. I would argue that there are alternative explanations, however, of those texts which do not make it a scientific blunder. Whereas with the Quran, I would argue that those alternative interpretations do not exist, and you can actually argue very forcefully, exegetically from the text and the early commentators that these are real scientific blunders, and there is no escape route for the Muslim.
So the claims of scientific miracles are actually challenges that come back on the one making the claim to critically think about the origins of the Quran, and where, if you're gonna making claims about the Quran being the word of Allah, as you said in your little bit earlier, I have never heard a Muslim say that they believe that the Quran was the God-breathed word of God. That's not a claim of Islam. Christian Prince, can you hear me? Christian Prince, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yep.
Yes, I do.
Now, we've been talking about this issue of dual Qarnayn and the setting of the sun. I wanted to ask you, over the years, I'm pretty sure that you have debated and argued with various people about this very claim. Did you happen to write about this in your book? And what have been some of your experiences with speaking to Muslims regarding the claim about dual Qarnayn and the setting of the sun?
Yes, actually, first, when you speak about Zulqarnain, the Muslims, they make a miracle out of it, and they say that Zulqarnain, he reached, he keep going until he found people where the sun set, but those people, they have nothing cover them. And they say this was the North Pole, because why it says nothing is covering them? Because the ozone is very thin there. So look how they lie to people. They make it as Alexander the Great, he went to the North Pole, and there it says he found people who have no cover upon them, and that was the ozone, which is very funny, claim, because Alexander the Great, why anyone anyway want to go to the North Pole? And how can an army at that time can go all the way to the North Pole? And who lived in the North Pole? And those people who live in the North Pole, they have nothing covering them. They wear the fur of a bear, So they create a false fiction. They change the whole meaning of the word, and instead of being an error and a disaster, suddenly it became a scientific discovery. Suddenly it became about the ozone, and suddenly it became about like something amazing. How the Quran knows. So the same as the Quran speak about the sun, he found the sun sitting in the murky water. The same as we see that he found people who they have no cover upon them. But people do not connect the information together. You need to remember that Muhammad, he taught his followers that Allah throne, when Allah he created everything, he was even before he created the earth and the heaven. There was nothing. Muhammad, he says there was nothing, but Allah and his throne was above the water. So the water was before the earth, and the throne was before the water. and Allah's throne is in the top of the water. So when our brother there he mentioned the hadith about the sun go from point A to point B, because Muhammad he asked about there. And by the way, this is a very strong hadith. This is not a weak hadith. And he asked him, "Do you know where the sun goes?" He said, "I don't know. The prophet, he knows." So then he told him that the sun goes and puts straight into the throne of Allah. But if you connect that information, you will find why Muhammad is saying that. The murky water actually is not the murky water. You see, this is a translation of what the Arabic text. Muslims are confused about the meaning. Some interpretation, they say the original word, it was hamia, not murky. Hamia means hot, boiling water, all right? And why it's boiling? Simply because it's under the throne of Allah. So the sun, and this is why the sun goes there, and that makes sense, because the sun is very hot, supposedly, and goes in that boiling water and puts straight into the throne of Allah, and then asks Allah for permission to come back. However, the Muslims, even either it's just a water, murky water, or it is hot water, still they base on the hadith, not based on the Quran. And when Muslims they say, this is anyway just a hadith, well, all Islam is about the hadith. If we take the hadith out, where is the Quran? You see, if you ask Muslims, name for me all the interpretation of the Quran, he will give you unlimited numbers of names of those who did interpretation for the Quran. Some of them, they are very famous, like At-Tabari, Ibn Kathir, Al-Qurtubi, etc. But you will not find one interpretation. It's called the interpretation of the Prophet Muhammad. The question why? How come the one who come with the Quran, he don't have interpretation, but those who are just followers, like the oldest interpretation for the Quran, it was by At-Tabari, which was 300 years after Muhammad, almost. So this is the oldest ones, which means before that time, there's no interpretation. So Muslims, during this time, until 300 years after, they were understanding the Quran how? And why Muhammad didn't give interpretation? Because simply Muhammad, he is just copying from poetry of old nation. That's why you see the Quran is speaking about what is called Asatir al-Awwaleen, which is the legends of old nations. So Muhammad, simply, even the Arab people, they say to him, you know what, this is a legend of our ancestor, and you are coming with nothing new. If you go and search for those stories about Alexander the Great and Solomon and the flying carpet and the flying horse, you will see that those exist in many old regions. As an example, the regions of the Jews. So Muslims, right away, when you have something very strong, expose that this is a bad mistake. This is a very actually funny chapter in the Quran. Actually, I advise everybody to read the chapter 18 in the Quran. It's full of fairy tales. But the second you put them in the corner, right away they will say, this hadith is weak. Even you show it to them, it's strong, it says it's strong, the Muslim accepts it as strong, but for them at this moment it's weak. Because simply you are destroying the religion. And the only way for them to solve this problem, they will come with the game of weak and strong. But you know the weird thing about Alexander the Great, Alexander the Great, when he arrived to those people, you will notice Allah is speaking to him. You know, and the strange is that Allah spoke to Alexander the Great, but he never spoke to Muhammad. You will see the Quran says Allah he said to Alexander the Great, either punish them or let them go. Okay, how come Allah never spoke to Muhammad? How come Allah always sent Jibreel, but Allah never to Muhammad? Allah never spoke to Muhammad, but he is willing to speak Alexander the Great. But yet the Muslims, they say to us that Muhammad is the greatest prophet between all mankind.
That's a great theological question. That's a great theological question. I've heard that question before. I still haven't heard an answer yet. I don't think I ever will hear an answer.
What is unique about Alexander the Great to the point Allah want to speak to him, but he don't want to speak to Muhammad? You know? And a Muslim right now, they try to say to you, this is not Alexander the Great. In fact, all the interpretation books, it says that he is a Roman man. The Prophet of Islam, he said, this man is a Roman man. He is the one who built the city of Alexandria. So guess who's going to be? Obvious, right? It's Alexander. But the Quran called him a name, which is very funny too, because maybe people do not notice. Dhul Qurnayn is a person who have two horns in his head. When they asked Muhammad why he was like called this way, he said, because when he came to his people to convert them to Islam, they beat him in his head, and he died, and one horn come off, like of his head. And then Allah, he raised him from death. And he sent him again to teach them about Islam, and then they beat him again, and another horn come out. So now he became
So not only Allah, so not only did Allah speak directly to Dhul Qarnayn, He also resurrected him from the dead.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And the funny, since when if I beat you on your head, there's two horns will come from your head. You became like an ant, you know?
Now,
like, you smash the head, you beat somebody in his head, but there's two horns will come out?
Wow.
Like why? He's a devil? You know?
We're gonna have to come back. We're gonna take a break real quick. When we come back, I want to bring up the Quran, Surah 78, 6-7, the issue about the mountains having pegs in the grounds to create stability from shaking. So we're gonna take a break real quick, and I want to come and I want to deal with that topic when we come back. So let's go to our break real quick.
ABN and Trinity Channel launching to Europe and the Middle East on Hot Bird Satellite. You can watch us on the frequency 12111 vertical. For more information, please call us at 248-416-1300. In France, please dial 977-199-168. In the United Kingdom, please dial 122-829-2332 or visit us at trinitychannel.com or abnsat.com for more details.
Yes, welcome back to ABN, the Trinity Channel. We are back here, and we have been discussing the topic of science in the Quran and supposed claims of scientific miracles in the Quran. We just had a very lively conversation concerning Dhul Qarnayn and the setting of the sun as it is talked about in the Quran and various topics related to that. Now, I want to bring up the Quran, Surah 78. Quran, Surah 78, verses 6-7 say, according to this English translation, "Have we not made the earth as a bed and the mountains as pegs?" Also in the Quran, Surah 16, verse 15, it says in this particular translation in English, "And he has set firm mountains in the earth so that it would not shake with you." So there's another argument put forth by those who give dawah, those who do apologetics for Islam, that another of the scientific miracles of the Quran is the fact that 1,500 years ago, Muhammad and his companions, they had this information in the Quran, that they had this knowledge of the unseen from Allah, about the way that Allah created mountains. And it's special knowledge about the way He created the mountains. And the mountains were created with pegs in the earth. And the pegs in the earth are to stop earthquakes and shaking and tragedy from happening. Our brother Jonathan, what do you know about this particular argument? What have you heard about this particular argument?
one of the more popular arguments of scientific miracles in the Qur'an. As you mentioned, that Surah 15:15 tells us that one of the purposes for these roots that go deep into the earth is to prevent the earth from shaking. Now, there's an immediate problem there. Of course, mountains are actually produced at points of instability, and they're produced by tectonic plate activity. And so it's actually rather the opposite of what the Quran is saying. They're produced at points of instability, and they're not for the purpose of ensuring stability. These texts that you mentioned, both in Surah 15:15 and Surah 78 verse 7 and 79 verses 32 and 33 and so on, tell us that basically the mountains are described almost as like tent pegs. But are mountains stamped into the earth, bang? No, the mountains actually are produced from within the earth itself, and they're actually pushed out from the earth rather than being stamped in like a tent peg would be stamped into the earth. And so this argument seems to me to be, quite frankly, clutching at straws. It just doesn't hold up. I think that a Muslim who makes this argument really is rather desperate.
So you wouldn't recommend this one for dawah?
No, most certainly not.
You wouldn't recommend this one. Oh my goodness. So we have roughly 15 minutes here, so we don't have a lot of time. Brother Christian Prince, I want to get your input on this particular topic. Have you heard of this argument? Have you heard of this claim? And what's your input on it?
For sure, all those claims, they are, but we need to understand that even the mountains are not just a piece of rocks. According to Islam, mountains are believers. If you go and read the Quran, chapter 33, verse number 72, you will see Allah, He says, "Inna aradna al-amata ala al-samawati wal-ard wal-jibali fa-abayna." Allah, He introduced His trust to the sky and to the earth and the mountains, but they refused. What is the trust? It is Islam. So Allah, He offered Islam to the sky, to the earth, and to the mountains. But they refused. And the human being, and continue the verse saying, and the human being, he accepted, and he was a fool. So the one who accepts Islam in this verse, chapter 33, verse number 72, is a foolish man. And the smart one in here is the sky, the earth, and the mountains. Why? Because they refuse to trust Allah in Islam. And here we will know, we will understand, that according to this, mountains, and it's not just a solid object, it's a believer. Because the Quran teaches not a metaphorical meaning, but the Quran teaches really that rocks, as an example, Muhammad, when he walks in the street, rocks, they say, Assalamu alaikum to Muhammad. And this is why Muhammad, he says, that the black stone is going to witness to Muslims in the judgment day, and is going to have ears and tongue and eyes. And whoever touch her is going to witness for him about his sin. So we need to understand that in Islam, they believe that rocks are living creatures like us, and they are Muslims, and they worship Allah, and even they will have tongues, some of them, or maybe all of them they have. In the judgment day, they are going to talk, and they are going to be saying things. Even they will deliver your sin. But in here, as long as we are mentioning about this, Muslims always speak about Islam. It's a religion against discrimination. If you remember the story of the black stone, there's a very strong hadith. Every Muslim agree about it. It says that the black stone used to be white like milk, but because the sin of the sons of Adam, it turned to be black. And here we need to remember, so rocks or mountains or any kind of rocks, it's going to be infected by sin too. And this means they are like us. In the same time, you have to connect why the rocks was white, and then the sin make it black. Why it's not the opposite? Simply because Islam being black, the reason for it is the sin. This is why the white stone was white like milk, as Muhammad said, and the sin of Adam turned it to be black. So this is a very clear evidence of that you are a black person. It means you are a very bad sinner. And you are a white person, you are not a sinner person. This is why the stone was white and turned to black. Otherwise, why not red? At least red is the color of hell, right? The fire. So why black? You know, and this is why the Quran speaks too about in the judgment day, يَوْمَ تَبْيَضُّ وُجُوهُ وَتَسْوَدُّ وُجُوهُ, the day where faces will be white and faces will be black. Why? Because simply if you go and read the interpretation, it says that Allah in the judgment day is going to turn every Muslim as a white and every non-Muslim as a black. And that's because simply the infidels are the sinners, and that their sin will make them black, and the believers, Allah will take their sin, so when they enter heaven, they will turn white again. And even Allah, He will make their height 90 arm height, some they say 60, and He will drink the water like Alice in the Wonderland, and you will become 60 arm tall, and you will become very white, and then you enter heaven, which means in heaven of Allah there is no black people. So is that science? Is that really science? That you know you are sinner because of you're black because of your sin, and you are white because you are a good person. What is the science in this? So you know, if we want to go on this topic, it's endless actually.
But Christian Prince, I was told by someone. I was told that Muhammad, he came with the solution to racial problems. And that you know, one of his companions happened to be a slave, and you know, he gave equal rights to his companions. So this information that you're coming with about Allah changing people black for doing wrong and changing them to being white as a reward for their belief. That's not what I heard. That's not what I've heard from the guys who give dawah. This new information that you're coming with.
Well, maybe we should make a topic about it, you know, because even Muhammad, he says, if you go to the book Kitab Sahih al-Bukhari in Arabic version, page number 538 and hadith number 1518, you will see that Muhammad described that the devil who is going to come and he is going to try to destroy the Kaaba, he will pluck it out stone by stone. He is black and he is very thin, and he is, even you mentioned that he is from Ethiopia. So you ask yourself, why even the devil is a black person and he's going to destroy the Kaaba? You know? So obviously, and even Muhammad, as an example, he said, kill the dogs, black dogs. So one of the companions of the Prophet, he said to him, Prophet, what distinguishes a white dog from black dog from yellow dog? He said the black dog is the devil. And this is the words of Muhammad. And I challenge any Muslim to say this is not true. So I want to ask, is that scientific? Black dog, white dog is a good dog. Is that what science says? Or it's based on discrimination, false information of colors, judgmental brain, that I am white, I'm good, you are black, you are bad. And, you know, even dogs, Muhammad did not leave them alone. And this is absolutely proof that there is no science in Islam. And you know, I don't want to forget that we can talk about many things in science. As an example, the creation of the baby, how he created him, how the Muslims they lie about those verses. But sadly, the time is short, and maybe we need to make a special series of show speaking about maybe each time about 1-2 cases. This way Christians and Muslims. Remember, Muslims think we are talking against Islam because we hate Muslims. This is false. We love Muslims. We want to show them that there is a lot of deception here, and this is, you know, I consider Islam as the biggest scam ever the earth met. This is a scam. You know, ask yourself a very simple question. There's a God, his name is Allah. If I believe in him, he will give me 70,000 little boys and a lot of women for sex. This is absolutely a scam.
That sounds downright demonic.
It's not good. It's not too good to be true. It's not reason. It's too ugly to be true. Why? Because just speak about colors, right? Like imagine God will enslave for you, will create for you slaves, even in the heaven. those slaves, some are designed for sex and some are designed for servant, as Muslims they claim. So imagine this God, they call him Allah, the God of justice. He will designate 70,000 little boys just to serve you, as Muslims they claim. That is a child abuse, a crime against humanity, and this God is really strict. And imagine you have 7 boys in your house to serve you. They will drive you crazy. Boys should be served, they should not be servants. But Muhammad, because he is speaking to Arab community, and he promised them that they will have sex with their wives, so he has to promise them with boys who will not create jealousy. A boy who will come inside your bedroom, even if you are having sex with your women, he will not make you upset if he see you. He is just a boy. So Muhammad simply is speaking to the desire of man in a satanic way, and making his promises, which is very ugly, as if it's very beautiful. It's a river of honey, river of milk, but at the same time, he put between the poison, it's okay to accept the slavery. Because, having women for sex is a slavery. And this is not slavery for temporarily, it's a slavery for eternity. Now, if you ask a Muslim, what is the guilt of those boys? Guess what? Many of them, they will say, those boys are not Muslims, those are the children of the Christians and the Jews, and the kuffar. Allah will make them servants for the Muslims. Is that justice?
That sounds ridiculous. So they're human beings who will spend their eternity. They're not being punished by being sent to hell, and they're not receiving salvation. They're going to spend their lifetime as servants.
Even the females in the heaven, like the Muslims ask themselves why they are going to be white. Like, what's wrong with the black women? There's a lot of women, there's some women, they are black, but they are extremely beautiful. What color have to do with the beauty? But obviously, beauty in Islam have to do with color. Sin in Islam have to do with color. A reward in Islam have to do with color. This is why Allah, He will make you white when you enter heaven, because it's a reward for you to be a white, and it is a punishment. And actually, in the Quran, speak about an animal. It's called.
That doesn't sound like something that comes from the mind of God. That sounds like something that comes from the mind, that comes from the flesh, from the fleshly desires of human beings.
The chapter of the ant in the Quran, there's many chapters speaking about many things. But as an example, there's a beast called a jassasa, and that beast is going to come with a stick of Moses, and is going to come with the ring of cinnamon, and is going to hit you in your nose with the stick of with the ring of cinnamon, and will turn you black, and then is going to hit you with the stick of Moses, and is going to turn you white. Now, why even there's a beast is coming? Is that science? A beast is coming from the ground, and he's going to make me black and white. Is that how we turn our color from white and black? So you will not see a Muslim speak about this. I want to see a video on YouTube about. I want to see a cartoon where a beast would come from the ground, and this beast have many faces and many looks, and he is like a combine of many animals, and then he is holding a stick, and he's going to teach me Qur'an.
I haven't heard Shabir talk about this before.
Sorry?
I was saying I haven't heard Shabir debate about any of these topics.
Oh, he will never talk about it. He will never mention it. He will never even get close to it. And if you ask him about it, he will avoid answering the question. This is why those people, as I said from the beginning, they debate only people who speak English for a very simple reason. They have a very limited sources in information, because all what they learn it's based on in what translated. And most of what, actually 99% of what is translated about Islam, it's translated by Muslims. Like, as an example, I have a list of books of Ibn Kathir, but if you go to purchase in the one in English, it's one book. How many books became one book? Simply because they believe everything will make Islam look bad in the book of Ibn Kathir, and then they make it one book, and you will find that what the interpretation of a verse in the Quran, which is many pages, suddenly it became two lines. So if I am a person who don't speak Arabic and I have no access to the original book of Ibn Kathir, I have no choice but to read the English one, which is nothing.
Yes. Now we're coming to the end of the show. Actually, we are at the end of the show. We have one more caller. We have one more caller, and we want to get this caller in before we stop the show. Actually, no, we're not going to take a call. I'm sorry, we're not going to take one more caller. We're gonna start wrapping the show up. I want to thank our guests. I want to thank both of our guests. Brother Jonathan McAlatchy, you've been a great guest. You've given some great insights and some great answers. I thank you very much for coming on to the show. I pray that the Lord blesses you in your ministry and blesses you in your apologetics. I know you're doing a national apologetics conference coming up on the Trinity and other topics, and I just pray that the Lord bless you. And would you like to give a last word? Would you like to say goodbye to the audience before we get out of here? And we'll go to Chris after that.
Yeah, it's been great being here. Thanks for having me on the program, and I look forward to future shows this week. And good to meet you as well, Christian Prince, and thank you for your great contributions to today's program.
Thank you very much. And Brother Christian Prince, we thank you very much for coming on the show and your insight and the knowledge that you brought to this topic. We thank you very, very much. Can you hear me? I think he's there. Yeah, but if he can hear us out there, we thank you very much for coming on the show. And we hope to see you on some further shows. And we thank everyone out there in the audience for tuning in. Like I said, the purpose of this show is not to tell anyone what to think or what to believe. The purpose is to present information to you so you can take that information and you can think over it, research it for yourself, and think over it with a critical mind, the critical brain that God gave you. If someone makes a claim to you saying that the Qur'an is a scientific book, it has scientific miracles, that gives you permission to question their claims. That gives you permission to use your mind to think critically about what it is they're telling you. So please, please, please think critically about whatever anyone tells you. And I just really want to bless everyone out there. Thank you for tuning in, and keep tuning in for the rest of the week. We're going to have more great topics, more great shows, and more great guests. Thank you very much. God bless you.